In today's video, I'm going to see if I can save this sub £100 mini computer by installing Linux. So this is a Snoomoo mini PC I bought a couple of years ago on Amazon. It is severely under-spec'd. It's got 4GB of RAM, it's got a woeful Celeron processor, and it's just 2 cores. So you can see I've got Windows installed and I've turned down all the settings. I've turned off services, etc., and you can see it's still fairly slow and cumbersome. So what you're going to see me do here is I'm going to install ZOS Lite, and the reason for that is Zorin OS. It's a Linux-based operating system. It uses Ubuntu as a base, and its main selling points are that it's easy to install, it's easy to use, and it looks familiar to Windows users. It also provides a decent compatibility layer using wine and bottles. And so this will mean that Windows users can run some of their Windows software on Zorin OS Lite. So to keep things interesting, I've gone for the Lite version of Zorin OS and not the main version. The main difference is it uses the XFCE desktop, and this provides a good level of performance. It's customizable and it still appears quite modern compared to some of the desktop environments out there. If I really wanted to squeeze every ounce of juice out of this machine, I would have gone for Debian with the ICE window manager, or I could have gone OpenBox. But I wanted to keep this so that it still looks usable for a Windows user. I could go completely down to the bare bones and make it run on a few hundred megabytes of RAM. But the point of this is to make this usable for the average Windows user. So my initial impressions after booting for the first time was that it's quite responsive, and you can see even with a single tab open it only takes 1.7 gigabytes of memory. And you have to appreciate I have screen recording software running as well. So if I turn off the browser, it slips down to 1.2 gigabytes, which is perfectly fine. If you think Windows was up in the 2.2, 2.3 mark for the same sort of baseline, then this is the difference that you're getting. So video playback via YouTube, as you can see, it's okay. It looks a bit hazy at times, but generally speaking, when I was using it, it looked okay. The memory does shoot up to 2.2 gigabytes. YouTube does take a fair bit of memory. There is a decent set of packages installed by default. There's a web browser, there's an email client, there's a remote desktop tool, there's audio and media players, and there's the LibreOffice suite. As you'll see here, LibreOffice isn't super fast to load, but once it has loaded, it is quite responsive. One thing that isn't quick to load is the GNOME Software Manager, which is used for managing packages and installing new stuff. It's not lightweight at all, and even on decent computers this software lags. To be honest, it's a bit of a letdown that it's included with the distribution at all. This is the one case I would suggest that the terminal might be a better way to install software. You can install Flatpaks, and Flatpaks are containerized versions of software, and you can see here I've installed Chrome and it works just as well as Firefox did, and Firefox isn't a Flatpak. So it doesn't matter whether the package is containerized or not, it seems to still work just as well. Steam can be installed, but even trying to run a modest game on this computer, I tried one and it ground to a halt and it required a reboot using the 4-second holding of a button and then restarting unceremoniously. I did, however, manage to install some games from goodoldgames.com, GOG.com, and as you can see here, retro gaming isn't out of the question, so you could install some emulators and play games that way. You could also use something like GeForce Now, that might work as it's cloud gaming. So did Linux save this PC? Well, Zorin OS Lite, it did a better job than Windows, but only Silicon Heaven's going to save this little critter. Although I think if you used a really lightweight distro like Q4OS or Anti-X, it would fare a lot better. In reality, you can get a Raspberry Pi for a similar price, the Raspberry Pi 5, and that does at least come with a GPU, even though it isn't particularly powerful either. So what is the point of this review? Well, if you look on Amazon, there are dozens of these little devices, all unbranded or with strange brand names, and they all come with similar specs, and they're all under £100. They all boast Windows 11 or Windows 10, and they will all be largely woefully inadequate for even the simplest tasks. However, installing Linux can at least make them usable. And so if your budget's stretched and you need a computer for simple browsing, if you want to watch YouTube, if you want to do social media, you want to do your school homework, then Linux on these little monsters might be your only option. Do I recommend these mini PCs? No, of course not. If you have one and need to rescue it, consider installing any lightweight distro and you will at least make it usable. And that is the end of the video. So, usual request, bing bang bosh with that like, subscribe and notification bell, and I will see you next time on Everyday Linux User. By the way, this video was created using ZOS Lite, Simple Screen Recorder, LibreOffice and Kdenlive, all on this little mini PC.